Hello everyone and welcome to Aon's Cyber Pulse podcast. I'm Michael Parrant and I'm joined today by my good friend Adam Peckman joining us from New York to discuss some of the key findings concerning cyber threats in Aon's newly published 2021 Global Risk Management Survey. Over the past year, and indeed now longer than the last year, hackers and criminals have exploited the COVID-19 pandemic and escalated their attacks on every business sector across the globe. In Australia, it's likely we will see continued attacks concerning ransomware, supply chain risk, business email compromise, and indeed other attacks, but specifically focusing on operational technology as the primary cyber threat to Australian businesses. Needless to say, cybersecurity has thus risen to the top of the agenda for organisation. In Aon's 2021 Global Risk Management Survey, the risk of cyber attacks and indeed data breaches is now ranked as number one risk for organisations being faced today, for both Australia and indeed globally. Cyber is also projected to be a top risk in 2024 and is perceived as a top 10 risk by every surveyed sector and for all job roles, including CFOs, CEOs, and Chief People Risk Officers. Adam, against this daunting backdrop of cyber threats and organizational heightened awareness, what are we seeing in the survey results in terms of the level of risk readiness?
Yeah, thanks, Michael, and good to be here with everyone. Globally, the risk of cyber attack and data breach registered the highest level of risk readiness at 87%. Now, that's up from 79% reported in the 2019 edition of the survey. And when asking companies to report the loss of income associated with each risk, cyber attack ranked third lowest on the top 10 risk list at 18% in 2021. Just lastly, on high-level data points coming out of the 2021 survey, when compared against the other risks in the top 10 list, cyber has the highest percentage of risk mitigation actions taken. So that includes 65% of participants saying they've assessed cyber risk, 46% having quantified cyber risk, 68% having developed cyber risk management plans, 45% having evaluated risk financing and transfer solutions, and lastly, 60% having developed some continuity plans for cyber risk.
Excellent. That's some encouraging statistics around cyber risk and mitigation activity, certainly increasing rapidly over the journey. So Adam, given the reported readiness levels are at high, and indeed the reported losses are low or relatively low, our listeners may be wondering, why then are organizations ranking cyber as their number one risk concern?
Yes, exactly. At first glance, you may think that these are conflicting signals, but when you overlay the macroeconomic context of the pandemic and the corresponding technological evolution over the past 24 months, the picture becomes much clearer. Technology really has been a key enabler of businesses, their survival during the COVID-19 lockdowns, and really an accelerator of economic activity during the reopening. However, that expanded dependency on technology has also presented more potential security vulnerabilities and greater economic impact associated with those risks. An example of this would be the transition to remote working. The necessity of this strategy for many businesses brought forward 2 to 5 years of digital transformation and associated investment. That change was so rapid at times that often security vulnerabilities were overlooked or unintentionally created. Aon's 2021 cybersecurity risk report that we conducted earlier this year revealed only 40% of organizations having adequate cybersecurity controls to safeguard these new remote working strategies. Another trend driving the rise in cyber's ranking has been the advanced tactics of the cyber adversaries. In the past, criminals attempted to steal sensitive data or money. Now, owing to the dependencies of all the businesses having these technological dependencies in their supply chains and business operations, these adversaries employ ransomware to extort, breach, or erase data, as well as directly target critical physical infrastructure. Again, that report I mentioned before, Aon's cybersecurity report this year, showed that only 31% of organizations have adequate business resiliency measures in place to deal with those ransomware threats. And perhaps lastly, another contributing factor is that cyber criminals are also exploiting the expansion of third-party technology vendors and digital supply chains. In what are known as water-in-hole attacks, hackers have inserted malicious code into enterprise platforms to spread their attack to the corporate clients that use those vendors, which can number in the thousands of times. Again, our research shows that only 21% of organizations that were surveyed during our cybersecurity risk report have baseline measures to oversee critical supplies and technology vendors.
Thanks, Adam. That's some great insights around the ranking, high ranking, and the likely being a reflection of organizations acknowledging the constant evolution of cyber risk, and indeed the need to remain continually focused on building resiliency as new threats come to the fore. If we look now at the cyber insurance market, it has also been impacted by the rise of cyber attacks, with ransomware now accounting for the majority of insurer losses, which we've seen escalate sharply. Loss ratios are now increasing, anticipated between 5% and 25% for all large cyber insurers or underwriters, and indeed probably anticipating that to increase in the short term. As Aon monitors the behavioural signals from the market, what sort of responses can our listeners expect to be triggered by these types of losses?
Yeah, that's correct. The impact on the insurance market that's flown through the rise in particularly ransomware attacks is triggering two observable behaviours from the carriers. The first is rate increases. At the start of this year, the first quarter, on average, they're up 35%, and that has continued to uptrend into Q3, and we're seeing rates increase beyond 75%. Secondly, it's reduced capacity. Fewer companies now can secure or renew cyber insurance policies. Carriers are demanding a higher baseline in ransomware protection that include a range of proactive and reactive measures that address topics such as business continuity and incident response plans. So if those conditions are not met, insurers are less likely to provide coverage to those companies.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam, for your expert commentary and sharing the insights from Aon's 2021 Global Risk Management Survey. Perhaps a key takeaway for our audience is that cyber criminals are constantly innovating, and it is truly critical that companies keep pace with cyber risk and ensure their mitigation and insurance market strategies continue to evolve to stay ahead. And indeed, the criminals are financially motivated to be better than us. So it is an ever vigilant position we need to take. Well, that's all we have time for today, and thank you everyone for tuning in. If you'd like to access the full Global Risk Management Survey report, please go to aoninsights.com.au. If you have any questions about your organization's cyber risk approach and how we can help, please do not hesitate to reach out to your Aon team member or your cyber Aon member. Thank you.